Hey homies, what's up? It is Wednesday night. We are going live. We're going to be working on some commissions here. Looks like I have a Ferris in the crowd. What is up, Ferris? No image quite yet. Oh yeah, there was a thumbnail. I forgot about that. We'll get to that. I just sent out a tweet. I'm going to play the intro and give people a couple seconds to gather around, and then we'll get started. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna hold us back now. Straight ahead on the track. Gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Hey there, homies. What's up? Ryan Wynn here with another episode of Late Night Inks. We will be doing some inking, but first we're going to be doing some penciling on this bad boy. What this bad boy is full of blank space right now. This spot here is going to have a friend of mine named J. Rob and his cat, who had recently passed away, that sits on his shoulders. You can't see anything right now. It's super light. And but over his shoulder, I'm trying to get it, my pencils are so light, I'm trying to get it lit properly. But over his shoulder are going to be Jimmy and Eli, Archer and Armstrong, my character Death Betty, the gorilla Abby from Gods and Gears, Spawn, a favorite character of Jay's, Mishka, who's one of the divinities from Valiant, the main divinity, Abram, who's going to be way in the background, floating, sitting Indian style, meditating. And then over in this corner, we have Ninjak hanging upside down, reading the book. And then J. Rob is roughly going to have his hair. And they'll have a comic here that he's holding. And his shoulders would come out here. So he's going to take up this space. And then although his favorite comic character, which I have created, are going to be hanging out with them as their comics. So it's a very sweet commission, and J. Rob is an awesome friend and creator and big-time Valiant fan. And when I was at Valiant, he was one of the friends I made there. So we are going to start tightening this up. I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. Hold on, everybody. All right. Ferris Jabbar says he's hoping to learn a lot more from Ryan. I'm hoping I can teach you. Hoping I can teach you. As an inker for years and years, but I picked up a little bit here and there about penciling. And nowadays I'm trying to be more of a writer and penciler. And hopefully I can pass on some of my knowledge to you guys. Keep adjusting the lights here. Jobu in the house. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Colin. Hey, Jabbar. Hey, Jobu. Hey. He hey Jobu'd himself. That was a self-Jobu. All right, everyone's saying hi to each other. And I got a cat that's yelling right now. So hold on one sec, guys. I got it. All right, cat's taken care of. He likes to come in and chit chat, stuff like that. Hey, we got Jimmy Reyes in the house saying hello to everyone. Hola, gang. All right, everybody. So what I'm working on is a Divinity sketch cover. And what I'm working with is a crappy pencil from Daiso, the Japanese store, $1.99, or $1 Japanese store that we have here. And yeah, you get a whole box of these for it's actually like $1.50 or something. But we are gonna get into this. And I want to solidify my forms before I go in and ink. I actually keep my pencils are deceptively loose. People sometimes think that I draw pretty tightly, but all of my lines are sketchy and loose, and I try to keep energetic. I just go over the same area kind of over and over again to solidify the shapes underneath. Because to me, it's more about the shape I'm creating and then outlining in ink than it is the line I'm creating. Let me get some water here. I haven't talked all day, and then you start talking and you run out of moisture really quick. All right, I got my Tough Stuff eraser. I like to go in with just these two tools. Super cheap, super easy to work with. The thing that's not easy to work with is this old sketch cover. These tend to, let's see, it's Bristol board, so over time it's gonna kind of give up its original texture, and it's not gonna take to the pencil and ink as much. And then on top of that, I've had these compressed in a comic box for years. This book came out. This is a Divinity 1 sketch cover. And I have had these here forever, since 2014, 2015? Yeah, 2015, I think. All right, so this is Eli from Gods and Gears, and I'm trying to make it look like he wants to talk, because that's something his character would be doing. Like I said, we got J-Rob and his cat are going to be reading a comic here, and all these comic characters are hanging out behind him. So I'm trying to make it look like Eli is going to be talking, and then Jimmy is going to be telling him to shush. And then Archer will be happily paying attention, while Armstrong is burping up some suds from his bud suds. All right, so from afar, like I've just created like thick, heavy lines around the character, but when you look closely, it's just a series of really sketchy lines, because I want to get the forehead shape right. So the first line won't be right, and I'll sort of sculpt with the pencil. And if I need to push the line that way, I just kind of keep drawing that way, and sometimes maybe I'll come up and lighten up this side, but don't be afraid to sculpt with the pencil. I like to have energetic follow through in my lines too, so sometimes I'll trace past. You'll see a lot of that. Like I'll trace past where the line ends, like from here to here is where the line is, but I'll create the shape through that, just so to get that perfect round shape. The shapes, not the shapes. And it's kind of a mashup of stuff. His nose is too high. That I learned from watching Mark Silvestri draw, and then also from studying Kevin Nolan quite a bit. Because a lot of people think Kevin Nolan's pencils are relatively tight, but they're sort of the same I'm doing. He's using a lot of varied lines to sort of make sure he gets the shape right, and then he'll go in and do a single clean line in the inks, and that's kind of what I do. Of course, not as well as Kevin. Come on. All right, is probably around 12 here. I'm aging them to just after the first Gods and Gears story. So Eli's going to be going on probably 12. Jimmy's going to be about 14 here. And Eli's going to have his goggles that he stole from his gorilla brother, Abby. Obviously, Abby's got his own pair, but in the series, Eli steals things from his family members and slowly builds his own hot air balloon to escape and run away. And that's where sort of where Gods and Gears picks up. Is he's running away from home, and Jimmy falls back through time. Not Jimmy Reyes, but this Jimmy Shotgun King. He falls back through time down into South America, where Eli lives and is currently running away from home, and they end up going on an adventure together. So they are dressed from that part of the story. Eli is actually wearing Jimmy's old racing uniform, and Jimmy's just wearing jeans and t-shirts. We'll be getting back to the chat in a minute. I just wanted to kind of get a flow going. And I actually wasn't sure if it'd be any different penciling during an episode as opposed to inking, because I can write a story while I'm inking. I can talk and take questions, but sometimes when we pencil, you have to put a lot of thought into it. So you're thinking quietly, you're weighing your options and things like that. But I figured if I got most of the brain work done before I went live, then it'd be kind of just cleaning up with pencil here. Excuse me. Let's see who we got here. See, Randy has joined. I see my homie Ty and Ranger is joined. I'm trying to say his name different, and hopefully right. And I apologize for the shaky camera, or the shaky camera. I use my phone right here, and I'm scrolling on my phone. I'm trying to do it as carefully as possible. I will be upgrading soon, so I don't have to do this. Christopher John has joined us, another fantastic creator. Hello, Christopher, welcome. All right, everyone chatting it up in the chat. Let me know if you got any questions, but don't feel like you have to have any. You can just hang out, talk in the chat, have a good time. We do have some links in the description if you have not checked out our book Hammerella. Excuse me, there is a link in the chat for that. It's an extended story from the Gods and Gears universe about Hammerella, who is a half witch, half godlike, or half demigod, not godlike being. She is a half demigod. Some of you are already picking up on who she might be related to in the Gods and Gears universe, and that's pretty fun, but you still have to get the book for confirmation on that. All right, let me know if the camera. I'm gonna fix one thing with the camera really quick. Hold on one. I think I can get it so it'll shake a lot less. Hopefully that'll work. Get square in frame. Now I noticed that, like, I went to do this, or Eli here. I went to do this line that indicates the top of, and then when I noticed that his chin was actually, that I'd created down here, was actually off center a little bit. So I want to get those shapes right. And he's young, so he's still got chubby cheek. He sort of have his eye drooping. We don't need to have a droopy-eyed kid. Nobody likes a droopy-eyed kid. But he can have a little bit of lash. You don't want to give it like a lady, but you want to have a little thicker line around there. There we go. I think that's Jimmy for now, or Eli for now. All right, we're gonna move on to Jimmy. I'll lighten up some of these lines. Sometimes I do use my trusty kneaded eraser for lifting lines, because you can do that and it doesn't erase as much as it lifts head, and you can still sort of see the lines you've drawn. But once I've done that enough, then I just kind of go in with the tough stuff and the pencil and just go back and forth. I mostly use the needle I'm laying in the forms. And that almost works, like say you're digitally, this almost works the same as if you pencil on a layer and then lighten that layer, and then create a new layer and more detailed, like the next layer of pencils. I just had an ant on me, like fell from the ceiling, and I don't see it anymore. That was really weird. That was really weird. Anyways. Let's see. Faris says, working on creator-owned book, needs some helpful advice on copywriting ID and submitting to image. I'm horrible about the copyright stuff. I always have my friends, my wife, that everyone takes stuff. I'm horrible at that stuff. I learned early on that I needed friends that were better at that stuff. As far as submitting to image, that's fairly simple. I haven't looked at their guidelines in over 10 years. But I assume they're still looking for like a full issue. Last I heard, they wanted a full issue done when you submitted. Which is a lot, but if you're creating the book on your own anyways, you're probably already funding that and stuff like that. So you may already have that done, or that may be in your plan. But yeah, I would have to, that would make an interesting video sometime. I'd have to do a little read and get some tabs pulled up and be able to share my screen, but we can go through different companies' submission, well, I guess whatever companies are left, submission policies, and maybe explain stuff, because sometimes there's language in there or phrasing or terms that you don't understand if you're new to comics, new to the media and stuff. And it could just be interesting to go through that, because that would probably answer a bunch of questions for you, Ferris, as well as other people. Plus, it would be kind of interesting. I don't know, in the last 5 years, I don't really look at companies to submit, so I don't really know what's going out there. The only submit alternative was because I like Peter and they were doing the newsprint, but otherwise Dean and I were gonna kind of go it on our own. Yeah, sorry I can't help you with the copyrights right now. That's kind of simple too, though. But yeah, I don't want to misspeak on that. I don't like to on things that I can't speak intelligently on or knowledgeably, because I'll say something wrong, and I don't want to do that. All right, so back to this for a sec. Part of me hopes this finger works, and it doesn't look like something weird or phallic or something. I may have to actually have a shush coming out of him or something. Shush, how do you do your mouth? Your mouth gets kind of puckered. Oops. When you're shushing, it's almost like you're, kissing up to the finger. I don't know. If it doesn't work, I'll just have him making a face. So before we get to the inking stage, we'll keep thinking about if that works. Now that head got too small. I don't know how I did that there. This ear's gonna be about right here. Sideburns. All right, so then, yeah, there we go. That's where his hairline would, or not hairline, but that's where the outer edge of the hair would be. Then we can give it some back and forth here. A little crisscrossing as it goes into the sideburn area. Yeah, Ferris, you always have really good questions. Oh, sorry, I'm saying that because Ferris said thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, sorry I couldn't be more help. Yeah, see, IP is relatively easy. Trademarks are lawyers' playground. Yeah, trademarks is where things get a little trickier. But once you get to the point of needing that, that's all handled by people who, if you're hiring a lawyer, they understand that. They'll be able to explain all that to you. But yeah, I wonder who I could reach out to, because I know some interesting cats out there. Maybe I could get somebody on that can explain all of that. That I think that'd probably be even better than me doing research and trying to explain it. I should use my resources to get us somebody who's much smarter than me on the show. Shouldn't be too hard. All right, we're gonna bring this brow out a little. There we go. There we go. That's the right shape I'm looking for. Yeah, that's the thing. Ferris Jabbar says, I've looked into it somewhat, hoping the costs have come down. Yeah, I'm not sure what the costs are right now, but it can get pricey to put all this stuff together. Luckily, there's a lot of rules too about stuff just existing or being on the internet. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily consider it a copyright, but it's close because you have proof of its existence. All right, so now I've got a little bit of a problem. Jimmy has a mullet here. Here's his ear. This neck muscle is going to come down here like this. Here's his shirt collar. So I want some of his mullet to show, but I think it's going to look like it's part of Eli's hair, which I'm worried about. Might be a weird tangent. You know what? Maybe I just ignore it, or not ignore it. Maybe I just don't put. No, let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try it. Gotta try it. That's why we got erasers and whiteout. So the mullet would be curling up forward like this, maybe. Let's see. Do something like that. Yeah, I think that works. If it's just something kind of lightly hinting coming out from behind. And then Eli's hair is going to be dark. I'm going to go in and do a second pass and add a lot of black to it. So this hair chunk will be black, 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 and this will be white and white because Jimmy's hair is white. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that'll work. A little rendering here for this neck muscle, but not too much. He's still a teenager. We don't need to make him have a ripped neck or anything. Doesn't need to be swole. Yes, this happens quite a bit. Sadly, big companies tend to steal stuff and get away with it, no matter if it's copyrighted or not. Yeah, one of the last indie companies I worked for a few years ago, a friend who was working for them as well submitted a story or pitched a story to them. And they rejected it, and a year later, or a little less than a year later, a different writer, that story basically to a different writer, taking my buddy's pitch and giving the idea to a new writer, and they did that. And yeah, you got to be careful with that. That stuff's out there. People are out there. That happens, but what are you gonna do? You fight the guy at the bar at the convention. Defend your honor. All right, so this is Death Betty, one of my creator-owned characters. Let's see, I don't like the lighting. There we go. And Death Betty's story is Betty, dated Death, and then
Death dumped Betty, and now Betty is out for revenge. So she spends her time ruining his day, which is, he's Death. He wants to take people off to the netherworld, the la can't talk, netherworld. And well, she stops him. So she basically becomes an anti-hero and stops Death from taking people, from killing people. But not to be a hero, just to piss Death off. So we put that on Comixology, and all 50 people that are on Comixology bought them up right away, and then sales went choo. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought digital was the next big thing. Apparently not. All right, so Death Betty's never smiling. She's got these black winged markings around her eyes, and then she's got red eyes and white skin. She's albino, except for her black markings. All right, let's see what Tyon says. I've heard that the paperwork Disney makes you sign to pitch something has a clause saying if they rejected it and another show similar comes out, you can't say, oh, yeah, I'm sure they have all kinds of stuff like that. I've heard similar things. Hey, look at Ferris Jabbar out there hawking Hammerella for me. We are at 11,084 with 11 days to go. Dragon Rage got 11,940. Both campaigns well. Oh no, we just went away for a second. I hope I'm back. Anyways, yeah, Dragon Rage was smart about closing out their campaign, but announcing that too, that it was going to be limited time for that special Dave Finch cover. So yeah, they kicked butt, got everybody excited about that and on it. That was great, and it looks like such a fun book. I backed it, so I'll be sure to let you guys know what I think of it. I think I'm already gonna love it though. I really love the idea. I don't like to compare people's characters to different characters when I'm talking to them, but when they describe Nuri, the main female that the book is about, who turns into a dragon, I was just like, oh, that's so cool, like a Hulk kind of chick that turns into a dragon. I was like, that's just, I don't know, that's a concept I can get behind. So I hope that isn't Jimmy, if you're out there, I hope that isn't seen as an insult, because to me that's awesome. And the book it's not Hulkish at all. I just like the idea of that transformation of like a whole character into something powerful. I like Captain Marvel for that sense. I like the Hulk for that sense. All right, let's get these goggles on Abby. And yes, Abby is a boy. He's a male. He's Irish, and he was transformed into gorilla form by his younger stepbrother Eli. Excuse me. And we don't know how long they're going to be trapped in this form. The form is actually called the Warillas. Super dorky name, but it was a potion from ancient aliens that Eli's grandfather dug up and found. And then years later, Eli was messing around in his grandfather's magic lab, if you will, and found the potion and to his brothers and his dad. And there's a little backstory on the characters in Gods and Gears. Yeah, gorillas are fairly simple. You draw a swole man's head, and then you make his mouth area really big and shove his nose up. Same skull as a human, but then you just add these this secondary like top, because it's a big muscle group that the top of their skull from their back, and it lodges on. That's why they get you know, the brow lump there, and then the forehead, and that cuts back, and then there's this third kind of chunk, but that's all muscle. The skull goes across here, and then it's just giant. It's this crazy piece of muscle. Makes them able to bite your head off, basically. Wow, this is going much quicker than I thought. We're only 30 minutes in, and I'm almost done with all the character pencils. I shouldn't say almost done, about halfway. But we are going to, let's see if I got a Post-it handy. And I'm going to cover these guys up for right now because, like I was saying earlier, this paper's been in, it's a sketch cover, and it's been in Comic Bin, and the page has been compressed, and the lead sits on top of the paper and smears around and brushes off. So I want to go in and work on this, tighten up this spawn a little. See if I can bring you guys in without it. Hopefully it doesn't go blurry as my hand moves around. We'll see. But I want to work on the spawn without smudging underneath. Hey, Arnie Gordon, welcome. Thank you for joining. He said, hey, everybody. Or hey, everyone. Let's see. Simon7 says, I agree Silvestri has a very good balance between real and comic book anatomy. Yes, he does. His current work is quite different from his early work. Love both styles. Now a lot more hatchy. Yeah, he's gotten scratchier, especially inking himself and using the markers and stuff. It's the same energy. It's just looser and I hate to say scratchy. It sounds like a bad way to say scratchy, but he literally is just doing these scratchy lines. But there's style and purpose to all of Mark's lines that he makes. So even something scratchy is very pleasing to the eyes. And he's one of the few. Whoa, see that Post-it doesn't even want to stick to this stuff. Yeah, Mark's one of the few people that I still hear. Need a fresher one, I guess. I still absolutely love his work. I loved all the transitions he's gone in. I have eras of his that I like more. While I really like a lot of the Darkness stuff, it's probably my least favorite. I like the X-Men, and then sort of the Hunter-Killer stage is one of my favorites because I feel at the Hunter-Killer stage he was, I don't want to say peak because he's still rocking it, but he was at this just high point, we should say. And Wade was still really trying back then, so that script that script sang. It was awesome. But yeah, Mark has a great balance of realism and like cartoony comic book style. And he's one of those people that he'll be pretty humble sometimes and just say, "Oh, all I did was study Frazetta and Buscema and do what they did." And yeah, there's that, but he also, like, I don't know, he knew how to turn things up. He had his own style. He was pretty badass. And yeah, I look at his work still. I tend to draw similar to him. Not that my drawings look like him, but the way I draw. Like I was saying earlier, I learned to get these energetic lines from watching him draw. So my approach to drawing the character, or my approach to the pencil lines and capturing the forms, is similar. Just not as good. Nowhere near as good. So we're going to keep the skulls relatively simple. I'm going to just do little eyes on them. I'm not going to try to do noses or teeth because they are very small. And those details will be lost at this point. So there's our spawn. And let's do a little more to this energy flame he's got going on here. Little bubbles coming off it. Just to give it a slightly different feel than a regular flame. Almost like it's a wet flame or something. Checking the chat, scrolling. Yes, Ferris. Frazetta's comic book work is incredible. Yeah, his paintings are incredible. Yeah, he's Frazetta's very inspiring. People always get mad at me though because he's not one of my favorites. And that's only because to me Frazetta is an earthbound artist. And I think he's one of the best. I don't think anyone touches what he does. Nobody else comes close. But for me as a kid, like my friends were like, "Oh, let's look at Frazetta. Let's look at Frazetta." And I was like, "I don't know. I want to look at like eventually it was Jack Kirby, but I was so much more into like Art Adams' slightly cartoony style and the cosmic stuff that he did." And that actually caused me to miss out on studying and learning a lot of Frazetta when I was younger. Because to me it was like, oh, it's fantasy stuff, and I wanted cosmic fantasy. I didn't want this stuff that felt like it was like on old Earth. Like I wasn't a big Lord of the Rings fan or anything like that. Now I am. Now I like pretty much. Now I love all that stuff. But just at the time, while it was happening around me, and my friends were like, "Let's study this," I was like, "No, it's like." Just looks like old Earth and stuff. It's kind of boring. And then I missed out on tons of stuff. Same thing with even playing D&D. I was like, no, playing D&D looks boring. I didn't realize how awesome playing D&D was until it was too late. All right, this is Mishka. I think I called her Misha earlier. Yeah, what is Johnny Rocket? Is that Frazetta's book about the race car driver? Johnny Comet? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank, but that stuff, it's like done in a strip form. And man, each panel is just so good. Frazetta's got just a naturalness to his work. I actually think he's more like Capullo than Silvestri, in the sense that like Frazetta, like when he's drawing his main character, like no matter what angle he draws him from, you can see all the shapes and everything. It's consistent. Like from no matter what angle, you can tell which character is which, and stuff like that. Just super consistent in his forms, the way he draws people and hatching. Anyone that's out there that's drawing will know what I mean by that, because sometimes, oh whoops, he's got blonde eyebrows. What am I doing? Sometimes you'll draw, like I tend to draw younger characters way more cartoony than adult characters. And sometimes I think that clashes. I don't think it creates a consistency. And I'm like, no, I got to work on that. But like Frazetta and Silvestri, there's just this consistency in their characters. Like, they all look like they belong in that world. And no matter what angle they're from, again, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted trying to draw and talk. I meant to be talking, Capullo, no matter what angle he draws people from, all the same. I'm not liking this archer. Hey, I see Demon Ink Studios. That's my buddy Merc. Hey, Ryan. Hey, buddy. See, Simonin says, for me, that would be New Gods by Kirby, Colin. Since I first saw it when I was 5 years old, since I was like a 5-year-old kid, the images have stuck with me. And later when I got the collected issues and read his whole run. Sorry, I butchered that. Trying to read it from a weird angle. That's right. Johnny was a race car driver. Driving something, never did something, and they never did something, never did something. Yeah, there. That's my Primus impression. I cannot remember the lyrics. All right, maybe Archer's got like a little smirk. No, that's gonna be creepy. I don't know. There's something weird about Archer right now. Maybe his hairline's going too far back. Maybe it's something like that. Yep, already that's helping. Because he shouldn't be older than 20. Not, I mean, my hairline went back further than that when I was 20, but still, he's very youthful looking. These little spiky bangs coming off there. What is bothering me about this face? Something is off. I think the proportions are there. Mess with this eyebrow length here. The eye comes around there. The skull, because you got to always think about what's underneath. And the eyebrow kind of follows the ridge of your skull just outside your eye socket. So maybe his eyebrows were too big or too long. Yep, that's already looking better. Probably doesn't look any better on the monitor or any different, but I think I'm going to give him a little bit longer of a nose. How about that? Let's see. Let's give him a different look. A lot of my characters have similar shaped noses with like butts out at the end or something, but here, yeah, you know what? There we go. That's working for me. And then, yep. See, just make some little adjustments. You just got to be patient with your drawing sometimes. And there we go. Yes, Ferris, that's a great way to figure out what's off in your image. I have a mirror behind me in my studio that I use just for that. I'll spin around in my chair and hold the drawing up in the mirror, and I'll look over the drawing from here. I'll hold it up to my face basically and look over the drawing from here and look at it in the mirror. And usually the stuff will jump out at you right away. But I don't want to get up and go do that, or I don't want to spin around and do that right now. It's not great for live for right now, but that's what you want to do. And if you don't have a mirror in your studio, I recommend just getting a little handheld mirror, have it on your desk, and you can pick that up, or even have it mounted next to your desk or near your desk. That's what Silvestri did. He had one of those mirrors. It had a stand like this and a holder like that, and then it was just a circle mirror, like a little vanity mirror. And he just had basically all the Top Cow pencilers had that on their desk, and you can use it for facial expressions and lighting reference and stuff like that too. But having that on the desk, you could just immediately hold up the image and take a look. See, his ear's way too big and cartoony. See, that's what I was talking about earlier, consistency. I have a slightly cartoony look to my characters, but that ear was going off into just way too big and cartoonyville. Let's have a chunk of hair coming up over that. There we go. There we go. It's all coming together now. It's all coming together now. Archer. Armstrong's looking pretty good. I just gotta get rid of some of the structure lines that I penciled in. And we're going to go in and darken up and tighten up some of these shapes and lines. I also recommend getting a brush. Mine was too far away to reach, but sometimes when you're working with pencil, it's so much better to brush away the eraser shavings than to smudge them or to wipe them away. I still do it by hand, and I try to do it very lightly, but I tend to always be happier when I just do things the right way. So we're going to give Armstrong a little bit of a cross-eyed, drunk guy burping expression. And he's going to have some burpy bubbles coming off here. And he's a little older, as in like 1,000,000 years old, so we can add some wrinkles under his eyes, and we can add a little bit of detail here with some rendering on his cheeks. And he's got this thick, bushy goatee. And he's got this golf cap. So even just that little swipe I did with my hand to get rid of the eraser shavings, it smudged here. It smudged pencil there. All right, there's his golf cap. And we'll shade his goatee in a little later. He's got a scarf. Let's see, the scarf is going to be tied in a knot here. And his jacket lapels will come down here. And his shoulder will go there, and that's going to go, this will be my friend J. Rob's head here, and these are all the comic characters that I've either created or worked on that he wanted included. And if you're just showing up, the characters we have are Eli and Jimmy from Gods and Gears. We have Archer and Armstrong from Archer and Armstrong from Valiant. We also have Abby from Gods and Gears here. This is my character, Death Betty. This is Spawn, who was the very first published comic character I worked on. This is Mishka, who's the second female divinity, and this is going to be the original divinity, Abram, and he's going to be up there floating around meditating with butterflies and stuff. So we are going to have a little water, and we are going to use our kneaded eraser for a second. So I'm going to fold it around, get the clean sides out. They always look dirty because they're gray. And then just gonna sort of stamp and twist it as you lift. And basically all the lines I drew remain, they just get lightened up quite a bit. So you can kind of go in and start tightening up the forms. Now something this small is going to be mostly about the outlines and the shapes, like the silhouette that you create with it, to make sure that it reads. So I'm gonna focus on the silhouette first. And again, he's sitting here meditating, legs crossed, hands in a position on his knees. All right, so we're gonna have this leg in front of the other. Bring in that foot, the calf, and then the thighs behind that, and goes in and meets at the hips. And then this leg is going to slightly go behind this leg. There we go. And he has this big round collar, just like Mishka, because they have the dome cosmonaut helmet that they put on, being Russian cosmonauts as they are. All right, and I'm giving him an angled mohawk. They both have the same mohawk, but sometimes people draw them round and sometimes people draw them square. I happen to like her with the round one more for some reason. All right, just saw this question here. Ryan, how did Silvestri approach an area of anatomy that he wasn't 100% sure on? Heard he wasn't a slave to reference. He wasn't a slave to reference later on, but that's the thing. So you don't want to try to start off being how Mark was eventually. You want to go through the stages that Mark went through also. So he did early on, he was using tons of reference, he was studying his anatomy books and looking at his comic books and stuff like that. But you get good at that, you practice all that stuff, and then you don't need the reference as much. It was the same with David Finch. He used to travel around with like a short box full of all his art supplies and then his favorite books that he would reference. And he wouldn't swipe or anything, but he would just be like, okay, so how dramatic did this artist make this character? Or how did they do a scene like this? And he would just carry those around with him and study them and try to emulate what he learned from them. Now, let's see, what did Mark do? So I've mentioned the Ghost Rider cover I watched him draw once, and that seemed to be the trickiest thing I ever saw him work on. Is that I forget which comics it were, but they were two issues that went, you could butt them, connecting covers. Duh, I couldn't think of the term. Connecting covers. And it was an angle. I had them here recently. Let me see if I got them here within reach. Hold on one sec. It might be worth it. I might have them here. It looks like I do. All right, so I'll pull the camera back and we'll look at these Silvestri pencils again. I need to take a little break from that drawing anyway, so let's do this. So this piece here, we have Ghost Rider. There's the second Ghost Rider on the other page, which I don't have within reach right now. All right, so this is what we're dealing with. Now, I remember this being way more difficult than you'd think it would be. This right arm of Ghost Rider that's going behind his shoulder. And that was something like Mark kept holding his hand like that, like away from himself and kind of looking at it. And then he was trying to position, because there's this shoulder pad here, this sort of like armored spiky shoulder pad here. So the real shoulder's there, and then this arm is tucking back. And I even remember at the end, he still kind of thought that it just looks like he's got a short arm, which it doesn't unless you bring it up and you're like, oh, yeah, it does kind of look like that. And I remember that really bothering him. And you can't see it so much, but he was moving this arm around. It was kind of maneuvering all around here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but here you can tell the pencils were worked over quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell on camera. So the hand must have been there. He was moving around from here to here. But yeah, I remember this being a really difficult thing for him. And so eventually it's part of it's the deadline. You know, morning's coming, you've been up all night in the studio working, and this has to get sent to Joe Weems to ink. So you've just got to settle sometimes. And I don't necessarily consider this settling. I think it looks really good. But when he was pointing out what was wrong with it, you know, I could see it. So it does kind of look like he's just got a short arm. And I think now, if he had had more time to work on it, he probably would have dropped the arm down a little so you see the bicep and the tricep here, and then had this arm shoot up here, because it would have kept the composition the same and the frame or the action line the same, but wouldn't have looked like it's hiding behind there. So he would struggle too. And again, you know, he was up against deadlines, so sometimes he would just have to settle. And I also remember sort of this leg coming out, like this angle was tough because the camera's down low here for the motorcycle. Man, I hope that reads. I hope you guys can see what's going on there. But yeah, this leg, because it's coming at you here and it's going back at you there, and you want it to really feel like it's coming at you, but man, it can get tricky sometimes, this foreshortening. And this is where we exaggerate a little bit. This leg is actually much longer than it would be in reality. If we were moving around in a 3D form of this drawing, this leg would probably look strange and be really long, but it's sort of it's the illusion of illustration. It's you make it look right for the image, and you find that balance in the image. If you went and trace over Art Adams figures, here, what do I got? Art Adams close by. If you went and started using this to study anatomy, you'd be like, wait, these legs are super long. He does crazy long legs on people, on everyone. But with his style and his world that he's created, with that consistency that he's created in his style, it works. And I think I am losing my focus on where I was directing this. So anyways, I hope that answered some questions. If not, Ferris will let me know. Ferris says Finch uses similar arm positioning in a lot of his drawings. Yeah, they come from, like, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri. They come from a similar, you know, Neil Adams sort of school of thought on a lot of that stuff. Not just Frazetta, but like if you look at the Neil Adams covers and stuff, there's a lot of Finch and Silvestri that gets plucked from those things. But yeah, Jim Lee, Mark, even Benitez, he's kind of drifted off into his own style. But man, if you just look at their rough pencils for a drawing, all those guys, it's very similar. Their approaches are very similar. It's not until you get into final lines where people's style comes out and takes over. And you can really tell them apart. But when I was inking Finch on Batman, I even noticed how much his figure structure and the forms that he created for the muscles and stuff, it looked exactly like an Art Adams drawing. But then the next stage, more of David's approach style started to take over. But man, if you just look at the way he blocks out a muscular, heroic figure, and then you look at the same thing from Art Adams, they are so similar. And you wouldn't really think about Finch and Art Adams being similar because their final line choice is different. And, you know, Finch leans towards a realism in his line work and his textures, and Art is leaning more towards a cartoony. Even though his work is very textured, it's still cartoony, especially compared to Finch. So anyways, let me know if you guys have any more questions. We are at an hour, so I think I'm going to call it. I need to take a break. I might try to come back in a little bit and ink some of this.
I didn't know that pencils were going to take me this long. I was hoping to get right to the inks, but I only have about an hour right now, and then I wanted to, like I said, I got to go eat and stuff. But I wanted to have some fun. Wanted to hang out a little bit. Wanted to try out the new StreamYard with the banner. I'm not sure if I like the scrolling banner. It seems kind of weird to me. I don't need to be hammering Hammerella home every second like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'll hang out for another minute or so. Let's see if you guys got any questions. I have been taking note of how of the questions you guys have been asking on things that you know, topics you want me to cover, and I've been trying to think about how to approach some of those things. Like if we want to do a video on when to take your story from your script and ideas, when's it time to put the art to paper. People want to talk about how finalized to take certain pencils, or you know, things like that. How, you know, I'm trying to remember. I've been taking notes. My brain is fried right now because I'm hungry, but I've been taking notes, and I want to cover all the questions you guys have been asking. We're going to go into, that was what I was trying to think of. We're going to go into digital inking with Procreate. I will eventually be sharing my brushes with you guys. Right now, they're just me manipulating and playing with existing brushes, so they aren't really anything special or anything I'm ready to put my name on and give away as a product. But we can work on that together and maybe get it ready for that. So let's see. I do see some questions here that I missed. How do artists like Broussard and Silvestri tackle an extremely detailed page in a limited time, or do they take at least 2 days to complete a detailed page? Michael used to take at least a couple days per page. I would take a day and a half to 2 days per page to ink, because at Top Cow they understood that we were trying to push ourselves artistically, and we wanted every line to be awesome, and they appreciated that in their inks. You know, being founded by a penciler who loved good inks, that was a big thing there. But yeah, they would take a lot of time was spent in the thumbnail process for really detailed pages. Michael worked in a similar way to Silvestri, and they would just, you know, thumbnail a few things out until you get some shapes that you like, and then Michael would collect a lot of reference, more so than Mark would, but Michael would collect it in a way, but he never copied the pictures. They were literally always just referenced. So for the darkness, like the caves in the first few issues of the darkness, where they have the darkness eggs cooking and stuff, and he was looking at all sorts of like images from aliens and things like that, but he never copied anything. It was always just for like purely inspiration. But those guys, so you basically you get your idea from the script for whatever the detailed page is. Think about, you're immediately going to have images in your head from movies or books or something like that. So go and collect that reference or take a look at that. And then start to meld your own ideas over that sketching. And you'll feel that moment when you're ready to put it to board, to take it from the thumbnail to the board. But you want to keep composition in mind. You know, that's something we should go over. It's more than I can even start right now, but composition is huge for guys like Michael and Mark. So you want to study your thirds. You know, look up how to use your thirds in photography and film, and that's basically finding the thirds, breaking it up into thirds, and that's going to create a grid pattern. And the eye tends to like things that line up on those grids, or that are framed within those spaces. So you can even go through like a lot of Mark Silvestri stuff, and you'll see that he's lining up everything on the thirds in the panel. So go ahead and look that up. We'll get more into that on this channel too. But in the meantime, you can do some research into that. All right, let's see if we got any more. Let's see. And more from Faris here. Also, hoping you can do a breakdown of Brian Boland's Sergeant Rock single image. several hatching techniques, hoping to get an inker's point of view on how different methods are incorporated into one piece. I did take note of that. You'd mentioned that earlier. I need to acquire. I need to look up. I haven't yet. If they have a black and white sort of artist proof or edition of that, that'd be a really great way to go over that. Brian Boland is extremely talented. His work is still really good since he switched to digital a few years back, but there was something about his grittiness, especially that Sergeant Rock stuff, because he was still incorporating something of Joe Kubert without looking like Joe Kubert. If that makes any sense. It still had a grittiness that Brian kind of didn't have later on. He cleaned up, like Killing Joke was very clean compared to his Sergeant Rock stuff. So yeah, we should definitely do that. Ferris says he has read the 5 C's of cinematography. Know the thirds. Okay, yeah, it's all that same simple stuff. It's just putting it all to use. Mark is very much of like, you could learn to draw kind of like Mark just from drawing from Andrew Loomis books. You don't even have to see Frazetta. You'll still kind of end up in that school. But yeah, that's good that you know that stuff, Ferris. Yes, that's a single image of Sergeant Rock smoking. Yeah, that image will we should definitely do that. Maybe we should even try to do that as like I print it up in Blue Line and ink it up myself, and we can discuss how some of the techniques are made. Have a black and white copy and have an image to ink and test out the techniques. I think that's the way to go with that. All right, we're gonna do one more pass here. Looks like I think I got everything. Oh, what is a thumbnail in this context? It is not this guy here. It is a small drawing. I don't have the thumbnail of this sketch cover, but I did a 2x3 rough, thumbnail size drawing of it. So that's what we mean by that. Let's see. Randy asks, is Death Betty only available on digital, or did you ever put it on print? I have some 0 issues in print that I just found, and I think I'm going to be putting those up as a perk on the Hammerella Indiegogo. Link down below. Because in the back of the Death Betty issue is a 5-page preview for Driver and Shotgun, which would eventually become Gods and Gears. So it's sort of it's something basically for the Gods and Gears nuts out there. They're gonna want to have this in their collection, the completists. But next year I would like to get the other issues printed up. Actually, I'd like to get them all printed up, reprints of 0 on newsprint, and then issues 1, 2, and 3 on newsprint. I may end up renumbering them just 1 through 4, since we sort of abandoned our original plan with that. Let's see. I want one of those 0s. Yeah, we can make that happen. If you really are laying claim, they're probably gonna be 40, maybe 50, but probably 40, because they are rare, and I only have 10 of them that I just found. But yeah, if you are serious, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter, and I'll mark one down for you. If not, don't sweat it. No pressure. Easy peasy. Farah says, it's very much appreciated for those of us who probably will never get a chance to learn from industry professionals in a studio environment. Yeah, that's what I'm here for, buddy. I like to share my knowledge. I kind of want to be a teacher. I know all my friends that are teachers just want to make comics, and I'm like, I just want to teach. But yeah, I've had I've had a lot of great opportunities, a lot of great luck, and I want to be able to sort of pass that on and pay it forward. So stick around, and hopefully I can. Let's see, Colin wants to drop the fry. Shut up and take my money, Kev. Oh, I see. I missed the gimme, or at least let me trade you money for it. We can figure that out. I know you got my DM info Colin, so you can hit me up if you want, and I'll make sure to hold one for you. All right, everyone. Well, okay, so I went a little over an hour, and I am brain dead. I need to go eat. I am going to show you one more thing I just wrapped up today. Where do you go? I finished the inks on our Doughboy, and I'm really, really happy with them. I'm really happy with his face. The original of this got lost in the mail, and while that should be something that really bums me out, I don't know. I really like this face more, so I'm trying to take the advantage or take the opportunity to make a better piece for the collector than the one that got lost. I added what I think is a more realistic grip to the hands. And basically, I don't know, making this a piece the second time, it came out better. I was really happy with these folds, the shadows, and the rendering. Those bleeds, I don't know. I was just really happy with everything on this one. So thank you for indulging me and sharing it here. There's the dirt mound pile. And calling this guy G.I. Doe. It's a doughboy from World War I. Super brave, stepping out into the action amidst all the chaos. And look at that, focused like an inker. Yeah, feed that brain, Ryan. Go eat, Simonin says. Ferris saying, very nice stuff, really nice line work. Thank you, Ferris. And Colin, my man, says, looks great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for helping me get through the penciling stage on this and testing out the first time I have the StreamYard where I can scroll things like back Hammerella, 11 days left. And, wonderful stuff like that. So I am having a guest tomorrow night. I'm having Julius Freeman, the creator of Ghetto Dragon. I'm going to be doing an ink along with his character. We're going to be here at 9 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. Might go for an hour, hour and a half, who knows? But that's going to be a good time. That book looks amazing. It's already funded, so we're just going to be there to try to help it get a little bit of extra attention that I think it deserves. So yeah, tune in tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Julius Freeman for Late Night Inks. And until next time, be sure to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy.